For something like 30 years, the safest job you could get in India was probably at Tata Consultancy Services. Well, that just ended. Today, we're going to dig into this massive seismic shift that's proving, no job is safe forever.
I mean, it really was the gold standard for secure career. If you got a job at TCS, you'd made it. It was this fortress of stability, lifelong employment in an industry that's famous for moving at lightning speed. And then, bam, July 27th, 2025. A single announcement just shattered that whole idea. The safety net, it just dissolved. And that sent a massive shockwave through India's huge IT workforce. It was a signal that a really fundamental change was happening.
12,000. Just let that number sink in. That's how many employees were let go in one single, totally unprecedented move. And here's the really critical part. These weren't junior staff. We're talking mostly middle and senior level managers. Yeah, the very people who had built their entire careers on that promise of stability.
So that just raises this huge question, right? Why would one of the most stable employers in the entire industry make such a drastic cut? You might think, oh, the company must be in trouble, but it's not that simple. Actually, it's way more complex than that.
All right, let's get into what I'm calling the revenue paradox. Because the answer, well, it's buried in this fascinating set of numbers that are telling two completely different, almost conflicting stories at the exact same time. Okay, so on one hand, you've got TCS reporting this record-breaking number, $1.8 billion in annualized AI revenue. I mean, that's a jump of $300 million in just a few weeks. It's staggering. Their AI business is absolutely booming. But then, at the very same time, they're losing those traditional, huge mega deals that used to be their bread and butter. These massive, long-term contracts that are just slipping right through their fingers. And as you can imagine, this disconnect, you've got all this AI hype on one side, but the loss of their core business on the other, it's made investors really nervous. The market is reacting to all this uncertainty, and yeah, the company's valuation has taken a pretty significant hit. Now, here's the thing. This huge internal pivot at TCS, it isn't happening in a vacuum, right? The competitive landscape out there is more aggressive than ever, and you can bet their rivals are not just sitting around waiting. And this is exactly where you see the battlefield shifting. While TCS is cutting staff, their competitors are jumping all over the opportunity. Take Wipro, for example. They just snagged a massive $650 million deal with Phoenix Group. And who was the client they just lost? Yep, TCS. So this all brings us to the real heart of the matter, the fundamental shift, the Manpower era. It's over. The whole industry is pivoting away from just selling human hours to selling AI, compute power, and real intelligence, usually for smaller, faster projects. You see, this industry-wide change has just completely rewritten the rulebook. And it's not just for the big companies either. This is for every single person working inside them. The contract has changed. Okay, so for years, there was this concept called bench time. It was that period when you're between projects, you're not generating revenue, but you could kind of rest, retrain, wait for the next assignment. Well, that time, it's now a liability. 35. That's the number that illustrates this new reality perfectly. It's the new maximum for non-billable bench days a TCS employee is allowed per year. That's it. For hundreds of thousands of people, there is literally a clock ticking now. And what this means is, well, it's pretty simple and stark. The pressure to be constantly skilled up, to stay relevant, and to be deployed on these high-value AI projects, that's the new normal. In this new world, you aren't being paid for your time anymore. You're being paid for your deployable intelligence. Look, this change at TCS isn't just a story about one company. It's a huge signal for the entire industry. The bellwether is definitely changing. And that leaves us with one final crucial question. It's not really a question for them anymore. It's a question for you. Are you AI ready?